When the Xerathi Empire sent their most advanced warship to conquer Earth, they never expected to land in Philadelphia. Within 48 hours, the entire vessel was systematically disassembled. Not by military forces, by locals with power drills and entrepreneurial spirit. This is what happened when humanity's greatest weakness became its greatest strength.
The morning sun hadn't yet burned away the gray November fog when Commander Vex'thar received a notification that would unravel 17 years of meticulous conquest planning. His ship, the Dimensional Apex, descended through Earth's atmosphere with a kind of casual confidence that only a species that had conquered 847 worlds could muster. Philadelphia sprawled beneath them like an open invitation. Atmospheric composition nominal. Lieutenant Quinn reported from the navigation station, her crystalline exoskeleton catching the light of the holographic displays. Gravity at 1.1 g, oxygen-nitrogen composition perfect for our breathable polymer suits. This world will be simple. Vex'thar nodded, for eyes fixed on the sprawling city below. The Xerathi didn't believe in making wars. They believed in making acquisitions. Philadelphia would be his greatest prize yet. A major human population center. Strategic location, industrial infrastructure, and according to their scans, the local population seemed more interested in eating something called hoagies than mounting an organized offense. The Dimensional Apex landed in South Philadelphia with a kind of gentle touchdown that suggested its landing struts had already conquered parking regulations on 17 different worlds. When the boarding ramps descended in a hiss of pressurized air, Commander Vex'thar walked out into American sunlight with absolutely no idea what was about to hit him. Literally, the first human he encountered was Tommy Giacomi, a 47-year-old scrap metal dealer from Kensington who had been driving his 1997 Ford truck past the landing site when he saw something that made his brain short-circuit with opportunity. An alien spaceship with exposed power conduits. And nobody around. Part 2, the first dismantling. Yo, Frankie! Tommy shouted into his phone, his eyes bulging like a man who just won the lottery. You ain't gonna believe what just landed behind the old Navy Yard. Yeah, I'm serious. No, not a meteor. No, I ain't been drinking. It's a ship, an alien ship. Within 4 to 5 minutes, Frankie arrived with a truck bed full of tools. Within 2 hours, word had spread through Philadelphia's scrap metal community like a virus made of dollar signs. By noon, there were 30 people surrounding the vessel with angle grinders, hydraulic cutters, and the kind of determined energy that only decades of salvaging could breed. Commander Vex'thar was in the command center, drafting his conquest proclamation, when Lieutenant Quinn's voice came through the comm system in a pitch that suggested something was fundamentally wrong. Commander, we have an issue. Humans, are they removing our port-side deflector shields? Vex'thar's 4 eyes widened. They are what? He rushed to the viewport and saw a scene of organized chaos. Humans with cutting torches were systematically dismantling the exposed portions of his ship like ants taking apart a cookie at a picnic. Someone was carefully extracting circuit boards. Someone else had already removed 3 propulsion coils and was negotiating their value with a colleague. Fire upon them. Vex'thar commanded. So, Quinn hesitated. Our weapon systems they're removing the ammunition storage unit. I think they think it's valuable scrap metal. This was how the Xerathi Empire learned that 17 years of galactic conquest had not prepared them for the particular brand of human pragmatism that lived in the greater Philadelphia metropolitan area. Part 3. The negotiation nobody expected. By sunset, Commander Vex'thar had made the most humiliating decision of his career. He was going to negotiate with a human named Tommy. The two of them sat in what used to be the Dimensional Apex's observation lounge, which now had holes cut through its walls where various expensive components had been harvested like organs from a particularly well-insured donor. So let me get this straight, Tommy said, leather work gloves creasing as he gestured with his coffee cup. You came to conquer Earth, right? That was the whole plan. Yes, Vex'thar said through gritted dental plates. I was going to establish a provisional government, extract natural resources, and integrate your population into the Xerathi labor force. Uh-huh, Tommy said thoughtfully. And how's that going? Your people have removed 17 critical system components and are currently arguing about who gets to keep the main reactor core. Tommy smiled. Not unkindly, but with the wisdom of a man who'd spent 2 decades in salvage yards. Here's what I think, Commander. I think you're shit out to luck, but I also think we can both make some money here. Commander Vex'thar's translator algorithm struggled with profanity, but captured the sentiment. Explain. You got a spaceship full of advanced alien tech that's worth a fortune on the right markets. We got the expertise to dismantle it safely, parts by parts, maximizing every component's value. You need to get home. We need the cash. What if, instead of a conquest, we call this a partnership? For the first time in his conquest career, Vex'thar considered an alternative to military supremacy. What would this partnership entail? You give us access to your whole ship. We strip it down to bare bones. Gently, professionally, we sell everything to the highest bidders. We split the profits. 70-30 in your favor because, well, you own the ship. 70-30. Vex'thar's 4 eyes narrowed. Why would I accept anything less than 8-20? Tommy grinned. Because you don't know the market. We do. And because right now, Vinny's group is working on your navigation core, and if they damage it, you ain't getting nowhere with that ship. Vex'thar stood, walked to the viewport, and watched Philadelphia's lights beginning to twinkle in the darkness. 17 years of conquest, the Xerathi Empire's greatest military achievement, now being negotiated away by a human in a ripped puffy jacket over coffee that tasted like engine oil. 6-40, Vex'thar said finally, in your favor. Tommy extended his hand. You just became the first alien to understand the Philadelphia way. Welcome to Earth, Commander. What followed was the most extraordinary salvage operation in human history, and the first one of its kind involving extraterrestrial technology. The dimensional apex became a living classroom. Salvage experts, engineering students, former NASA technicians, and just regular Philadelphia folks who saw opportunity work side by side with Xerathi engineers who'd spent years building the very systems they were now teaching humans to carefully extract. Maria Chen, a former aerospace engineer who'd left NASA for the salvage business, stood in the ship's engineering core with Dr. Zaxa, the ship's chief engineer. The alien translation implant converted his crystalline chitting into perfect Philadelphia accent. So this is a power coupling, Zaxa explained, pointing to a device that looked like it was made of mathematical equations given physical form. You got to remove the quantum stabilizers first, or the whole thing goes unstable. See? How unstable? Maria asked. Kaboom, unstable. Got it. Real stable like removal. By week 2, they'd established a system. The salvage crew worked in teams of humans and Xerathi, carefully extracting components, cataloging them, storing them in climate-controlled containers. Some items went to aerospace companies, others to research universities. A few of the stranger components were purchased by a private collector in Dubai who didn't ask questions about provenance. The deflector shield coils alone sold for enough to fund 3 community centers. Part 5. The Unexpected Friendship. Strange friendships bloomed in the darkness of the ship's corridors. Tommy and Vex'thar found themselves eating lunch together most days, the alien picking at a Philly cheesesteak while Tommy explained human history. So you got 146 countries, Vex'thar said, and you're always fighting about land, resources, and something called politics. Yep. But you're unified enough to collaborate on salvaging my spaceship. Well, money's a pretty good unifier, Tommy said. Besides, if we're being honest, Commander, most humans are pretty reasonable when there's profit involved. It's the ideological stuff that makes us crazy. Vex'thar considered this while looking at a massive chunk of spiced meat between bread. Your species is illogical. No, Tommy corrected. We're just inconsistent. Big difference. Lieutenant Quinn, despite her initial horror, became fascinated by Earth culture and particularly by something called reality television. She would spend evenings in the crew's break room, watching humans compete for money and status on television, her crystalline exoskeleton reflecting the blue light as she made observations that were somehow both brilliant and completely missing the point. So this human, she said, pointing at the screen, spent money he didn't have to buy things he doesn't need, to impress people he doesn't like, in order to participate in manufactured drama. Yeah, Tommy said, pretty much. The Xerathi would consider this insane. The Xerathi tried to conquer a planet and got turned into scrap metal dealers. I'm not sure you got the moral high ground here, Lieutenant. Quinn's laugh was like wind chimes made of crystal. Part 6. The climax. When everything changes. 3 months into the salvage operation, everything changed. The Xerathi Empire sent a message. A real one, across the vast distances of space. Status report. Explain conquest delays. Commander Vex'thar, you have 72 hours to respond. Commander Vex'thar sat in the salvage office, what used to be his command center, with Tommy, Maria, and his own lieutenant, facing a decision that would define his existence. You could lie, Tommy offered. Tell them the conquest was successful. You're consolidating resources. Need more time. The Xerathi don't accept deception, Vex'thar said heavily. If they discover I failed, if they discover I participated in the dismantling of the dimensional apex, I'll be executed for incompetence. You understand this. So what do you want to do? Maria asked gently. Vex'thar stood, and his 4 eyes looked out over Philadelphia, the city that had taken his greatest shame and transformed it into something unexpected. The crew had earned $47 million. They'd already distributed $30 million. His split would have been nearly $20 million, more wealth than he could accumulate in a normal Xerathi lifetime. But that wasn't what had changed him. It was the friendship, the collaboration, the simple fact that humans, despite being chaotic and illogical and passionate about absurd things, were capable of extraordinary kindness when it mattered. I'm going to tell them the truth, Vex'thar said finally. That's a death sentence, Quinn said quietly. Perhaps, but it's my death sentence. I won't hide behind a lie and endanger these humans. He turned to face them. I will tell the Xerathi Empire that I discovered something more valuable than conquest on this world. What's that? Tommy asked. That sometimes, Vex'thar said, the greatest achievement is not dominating your enemy, but becoming their friend. The message Vex'thar sent to the Xerathi Empire was a phenomenon that rippled through galactic civilization for years. He told them everything. The failed conquest, the unexpected partnership, the salvage operation, the profit. But more than that, he told them about humans, about their capacity for innovation under pressure, about their ability to see opportunity where others saw disaster, about how a species could go from near extinction multiple times and still maintain hope. He told them about Tommy's laugh, about Maria's engineering insights, about Quinn's fascination with human television, about how an alien armada and a salvage crew from Philadelphia had somehow created something unprecedented, mutual respect between species. The Xerathi Empire's response came 2 weeks later, across the quantum network that bridged galaxies. Your conduct is unconventional. Your methods are illogical. Your failure to conquer is unprecedented. However, your profit margins are acceptable. We find your report of human behavior fascinating. We are dispatching a research vessel. Prepare for official contact. Continue salvage operations. The Empire will now purchase technology insights directly from your human partners. Consider yourself promoted to Ambassador of Human Relations. Tommy read the message over Vex'thar's shoulder and let out a laugh that echoed through the nearly bare corridors of the dimensional apex. Did that alien spaceship just offer us a government contract? Yes, Vex'thar said. And based on my understanding of how Philadelphia operates, you're going to charge them significantly more than the current rate. You learn fast, Commander. 6 months later, the dimensional apex was completely dismantled. The final component, a secondary quantum processor, was carefully extracted and sold to a research consortium for $8.7 million. The total profit split saw Vex'thar return to the Xerathi Empire with wealth and prestige, while Tommy, Maria, and the salvage crew became millionaires. But more importantly, they'd become something else. Proof that the universe was stranger, more hopeful, and more full of possibility than anyone had imagined. Epilogue. 6 months later, Vex'thar stood in the Philadelphia spaceport, hastily constructed on the edge of the city, welcoming the first official Xerathi research vessel. Tommy stood beside him, now officially a consultant for the Xerathi Empire's Department of Human-Alien Relations, which had been created specifically because of him. Think they'll understand? Tommy asked. I don't know, Vex'thar said. But I know they'll listen, because now they know that humans don't work through conquest and domination. You work through partnership. You see value in things others discard. You're willing to collaborate for mutual benefit. Yeah, Tommy said, and you learn to appreciate a good hoagie. Yes, that too. As the new ship descended toward Philadelphia, Vex'thar reflected on the peculiar path that had brought him here. He'd arrived as a conqueror. He was staying as a bridge between worlds. The dimensional apex was gone, dismantled piece by humans with power tools and entrepreneurial spirit. But something more valuable had been built in its place: understanding, friendship, hope, and the beginning of a future where the greatest conquest wasn't of territory or resources, but of prejudice. Philadelphia had done what the greatest military powers in the galaxy could not. They'd made an alien understand what it meant to be human.